In this video, I'm going to show you how to dimension your drawing so that you have all of the features identified. Dimensions give you two important aspects of a part. They tell you the size of the part, that this is 8 inches long and 6 inches tall, and that the holes are 5/32 in diameter. And they also tell you the location of features. We'll know that these holes are 1 inch and 2 inches from the top of the part and 1/2 inch over from the right side of the part. So size and location are the two things that dimensions are going to be giving us. It's also important to notice here that these dimensions all start from the top edge and measure down, and from the right side and measure over. You could do the same thing measuring from the left side. All the dimensions will start at the left side and continue to the right, or from the bottom up. It depends on how you might be making the part where you dimension from. All the dimensions as well follow this pattern where the smaller dimensions are closer to the object and the larger dimensions are further away from the object. This reduces confusion with the extension lines. These extension lines, they don't cross over these dimension lines. The lines with the arrows and the dimension, those are dimension lines. If they cross over, you have a very sloppy looking drawing, and it's difficult to understand certain sizes and what the dimensions reference. So it's important to keep everything neat and orderly. One other thing to point out is that the dimensions, no dimensions should be closer than 1/2 inch. So from the object to my first dimension line is 1/2 inch, and then after that all the dimensions can be about 1/4 inch from each other. And again, this reduces confusion and makes the drawing look more orderly. So to start this, we already have a bunch of construction lines drawn to all of our features. They're there from when we originally constructed the part. We can use those in dimensioning at this stage. What I'm going to do is use my ruler, black side that has the 16 on it. That's my regular standard full-scale ruler. I can use that to measure 1/2 inch distance out, and I know I'm going to have the distance to this hole. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th dimension all the way down the side of the part. So that's 5 dimensions. So if I measure for 1/2 inch, 1 dimension, 1/4 inch, another 1/4 inch out, it'd be 2 dimensions, 3, 4, and 5. Those are 1/4 inch increments. I've got my 5 dimensions kind of marked out. What I can do now is come back with my triangle, and I can mark in where I'm going to put my dimension lines. Now, knowing I'm going to have a dimension of an 1/8 inch height in my dimension line, I can draw the dimension line, leave a gap, and then I can come back and put my dimensions in shortly after. So from the construction line down, I'm going to draw and leave a gap of about 1/8 inch, and then I can continue down to the next construction line. I'm going to dimension for this second hole. Draw my dimension line down. From the construction line, I leave a gap down to the construction line. Same for the next hole. And the last hole. And for the length or width of the part. Now I have my dimension lines drawn. I'm going to come back and put in my extension lines. Now an extension line extends points on the object out into space so that we can identify them with the dimension lines. The extension lines should not touch the object, so I'm going to leave a small gap this top extension line is being utilized by all 5 dimensions, so it's going to be drawn all the way out past those dimension lines, and it's going to extend past the last dimension line just slightly. At the bottom, I have a dimension extension line for this last dimension, and I can work my way up. Now, in this case, the extension line can cross over the visible line of the object because it's pointing towards this center line. So it extends over the object and it stops short of touching the center line. And the same will be for all of these holes. The extension line starts beyond the dimension line, continues over the part up to the object I'm defining, but it does not touch that center line. Something to point out is that I did not dimension the location of this center line in the middle. Knowing that this whole part is 6 inches wide, which I'll have with this 6-inch dimension, this center line, if it's in the middle of the 6-inch object, should be 3 inches down. So because it's a center line and I have the dimension of 6, I can omit the 3-inch dimension for this center line. To go back and dimension now, if I move my T-square up, I can rest my hand on it so I don't get my hand all over the pencil that I've already got on my sheet, and I can dimension the 1 inch. And I can put arrows on my dimension lines while I'm in that same position. This was 2 inches. This one is 4 inches. 5 inches. And the last was a 6-inch width. And where I didn't put the arrows on yet, I can continue to do that now. And I have my five dimensions. I'm going to continue to dimension these 3 lines. In the next video, you'll see those completed.